Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for your patience. We had to reboot our system, given how many people have joined today. And let me just thank all of you for taking the time. We had planned for the most legendary year of Pelotonia yet, and so many of you had already participated, registered, and laid out some pretty audacious goals. And I want to start today by just expressing our gratitude to all of you. It's incredible to look on the right side of the screen and see so many comments from so many friends and leaders in our community. And I wanted to take a special moment to just acknowledge all of our healthcare workers, our physicians, our nurses, our therapists, many of you who are on this broadcast today, and just thank you for everything you're doing. I also want to thank our team at Pelotonia. As you might imagine, everything over the last few weeks has been very hectic and considerably stressful as we've navigated this new reality. And I'm proud to work alongside some phenomenal people who have gone above and beyond to bring something to the community that I'm very excited about. So while we started this legendary year with tremendous results, the world changed, and we've all experienced that change in both personal and professional ways. And our team really took the time to look at any and all options whereby Pelotonia could still achieve its mission. And during this process, we looked at a number of factors. We looked at whether we could have a traditional ride. We looked at whether we could have a scaled down version of the ride. And we also looked at a totally reimagined concept. And there were pros and cons to all three of those options. But at the end of the day, our decision to create a new platform, to launch something called My Pelotonia for 2020 was really quite clear. We had to think through all of the various aspects, from the public health aspects to things that impact our community, to things that really take tremendous resources to execute a traditional ride weekend. And as we got together with our board and with our partners at Ohio State, it became really clear that we not only had an opportunity to do something different, but we actually had a responsibility to do so. And I'm really proud of our team. I'm proud of the organization for taking a couple of bold steps. One is we are eliminating the registration fee for 2020. For those who've already paid a registration fee, you'll have the opportunity to roll that to 2021's registration, or you can have it counted towards your fundraising for this year. The second thing we did is we decided to eliminate the enforcement of fundraising commitments. We know that today, fundraising is more critical for cancer research than it was 3 months ago. And yet we also know the economic uncertainty that so many are facing. We also decided to create a live broadcast event that will take place on August 7th to really bring the community together, to inspire, to entertain, and to highlight what you all determined to be your Pelotonia for 2020. So I sit here today both with mixed emotions, disappointed in some regard that we can't all gather, thousands of us side by side, but grounded in the reality that Pelotonia has always been more than a one weekend bike ride. It's a community of people who are trying to do something that none of us could possibly do on our own. And we will do that in earnest this year and beyond. So with that, I want to bring up a colleague of mine, our Director of Community Engagement, Eric Olsofsky, and he and I are going to answer a lot of your questions and have a discussion with all of you who, quite frankly, make the Pelotonia community and the Pelotonia movement possible. Eric, how are you doing?
Hey, Doug. Great to see so much engagement here. I'm totally inspired by 440 people are joining us right now. We've received nothing but great feedback over the last couple hours about the My Pelotonia platform. So thank you to all who are joining us, and we'll have a great conversation here, talk a little bit about what My Pelotonia means this year, talk about the energy and what's to come in the coming weeks here. And then we'll open it up to a little Q&A as well, if you're open to that, Doug. So let me start by saying, on behalf of our entire team, and I know Doug just mentioned this, there's never been more excitement from the 17 staffers. It's been a pleasure working with them over the past, I think, 8 or 9 weeks now, as we've been contemplating what the future of Pelotonia looks like in 2020. So much energy. It's been a lot of fun, and we're excited as we unveil the My Pelotonia platform. So Doug, we had a number of communications go out this morning, email, social media, certainly the video, and everyone's had a chance to see that. And, one of the things that was mentioned in that video was that we're putting Pelotonia in the hands of our community, as it relates to, what it looks like for them. They can define it from an activity perspective, from a fundraising perspective. And I wanted you to share just a little bit about, your vision for that, or what the team's vision, for My Pelotonia was this year.
Yeah, Eric, I think the most exciting thing about this new platform, which will launch on June 2nd with a new website that will be really easy for people to engage with, the most exciting thing about My Pelotonia is that it is totally accessible. And it allows people to say, you know what, I'm going to ride in Columbus, Ohio on August 8th or 9th. And it also allows people to say, I'm going to walk with my family after dinner, or I'm going to run 100 miles cumulatively across the summer, or I'm going to sew masks for people in my community who are in need. It allows people to choose how they want to fulfill their Pelotonia commitment. And I think that's a beautiful thing, because it's exposing new people and providing an opportunity for our Pelotons to grow beyond what the traditional ride structure might have allowed. So for us, I think the decision was pretty easy in terms of wanting to create something that let people chart their own course. And I can tell you, I'm super excited. I've never ridden from Columbus to Cincinnati, and I'm going to do that as one of my sort of Pelotonia goals for the summer. And I'm going to do it with some friends. And so the ability for small groups, for Pelotons, for individuals to band together and achieve some pretty phenomenal goals, all in the service to our broader mission of innovative life-saving cancer research, is pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's been amazing just in the last few hours to see some of the declarations that people are, going to roll with this year. There's going to be a lot of education as we, move through the next couple of weeks here, and letting people know that they can really define what Pelotonia is. I will tell you, in the Osowski household, there's been a lot of conversation, a lot of creativity. My wife is one of those that you had mentioned earlier that's making masks. So she's going to effort to make 200 COVID-19 masks and donate those out to the community. She's already broken a handful of needles on her sewing machine, which has been frustrating for her. My daughter, who's 8, has committed to doing 10 burpees a day between June 2nd and August 9th. My middle son is going to run a mile every day during that same time period. My oldest son, we're working on a little bit. He has said that he wants to do 24 hours straight of gaming, and I'm not quite sure about that yet. We're not sure we want him to do that, but we'll keep working on him. And then I'm super excited. I'm going to try to run as far as I can in 24 hours. So we'll see what I can do there. Still a date to be determined, but it's been so inspiring to see, others, just brainstorm and think of what they can do this year and how they can create their Pelotonia. And listen, we know that our community is a community of riders. And so a lot of our, participants are still going to ride, and that's awesome. Whether it's throughout the summer or on ride weekend, it's going to be great. But we think this has an opportunity to bring so many more people into our movement, so many more people into our mission, by allowing them the creative liberty to define Pelotonia. So
listen, I think it's pretty clear from the conversations I've had last night and this morning. I mean, we're going to have plenty of people riding through Pickerington, riding through Granville, some even ending up at Kenyon and Gambier. And I talked to one of our legends, and just so everybody is aware, this year, anybody who participates is going to be referred to as a legend. And we mean that, because anything that you do this year will truly be legendary. And I was talking to a woman this morning for whom this will be her 9th year. And she was so torn, right? So on the one hand, just sort of disappointed that we can't have thousands and thousands of people together in August. But she said, you know what? We've already determined that our annual fundraiser, which is an event that used to take place in a theater, will take place using the technological tools that we've all become accustomed to. And so even on the fundraising side, seeing people innovate and figure out how to bring people together, again, in the service of our mission, which, as I said earlier, frankly, is more important today. And we've learned so much over the last 10 weeks about COVID-19 and about the vulnerability of cancer patients and their families, not to mention just the impact that this disease is having right now. So I know that there are people on this broadcast whose family, loved ones are undergoing treatment at the moment. And you can imagine the stress and strain of having treatment without visitors, without somebody to go with them. And so the need for cancer research funding today is just absolutely critical, and potentially even more so than it was 3 months ago.
Yeah, and you said it earlier. This was a difficult decision for us, but an easy decision. A difficult decision and a tinge of sadness that we won't be able to all gather like we normally would on Ride Weekend, but an easy decision knowing that we just cannot put our community at risk. And so, we're excited about this new platform. But let's kind of segue a little bit, because you just brought up fundraising and, the logistics and going into that. We're not charging registration fees. There's no fundraising commitments. Talk about how we kind of got to that spot.
Yeah, look, I think for all of us, we understand that we're living in a new reality today. And, our community and all of you have gone above and beyond for 11 years and done things that, frankly, most people thought were impossible. And we just decided early on in this process that, holding people to financial commitments during this time of uncertainty didn't make any sense, and it wasn't the right thing to do. And so that was sort of an easy decision. The registration fee was also a pretty easy decision, because we are so fortunate to have funding partners who not only recommitted this year, but said, look, we love the idea of you doing something broader to engage more people. And we're just so humbled by their support that allows those decisions to be easier than they otherwise would be. Fundraising is critical, that said, and we will provide some pretty significant incentives for people at various levels. So on June 2nd, when the new My Pelotonia site launches, you will see what incentives will be offered for the various levels. We will still have a high roller level. We will still provide some pretty amazing items to all of you who go above and beyond. And we're also going to provide some cool items in advance of the August broadcast. So there'll be a deadline in mid-July. And if you've hit a certain level of fundraising, you will receive everything prior to the weekend in August, whether you want to be out riding that weekend or whether you want to participate with your family and friends in watching the live broadcast. So we're not backing away from any of that in terms of how we inspire people to go above and beyond. And quite frankly, I'm just so excited to see the results because this allows each and every one of us to go recruit 5 or 10 new people. And these are people who might have historically said, you know what, I don't have a bike, or may have historically said, I can't be in Columbus that first week in August. There are no geographic barriers. There are no age barriers. There are no economic barriers. This is really a year to democratize Pelotonia. And I think if we can recruit thousands and thousands of new people to this cause, the impact long-term will be pretty transformational.
Absolutely. Agree with you 100%. Over the last, 8 or 9 weeks, we've heard a lot from the community, specifically about fundraising and maybe some apprehension of fundraising when we think about what we're going through, both from, a public health perspective with the pandemic, and also, just the economic, ramifications of this pandemic. So many people are, losing their jobs or being furloughed. But the importance of raising funds for cancer research has never been greater. And if you could chat a little bit about that, about how, maybe we approach fundraising this year and what the mindset is for fundraising for cancer research.
Absolutely. Look, I think a lot of people are nervous. They're nervous about how to go about asking for donations at a time when there are so many needs in the community. And I think we understand that and we appreciate that. And I would also add, and I know Zihai Lee and his team are on today and so many other of our partners from the James. I would just add that there's a lot of dynamics at play here that impact cancer and COVID-19. And I'll give you just a few examples. One example is the cancer research enterprise. So whether it's at Ohio State or nationally or internationally, the cancer research enterprise is massive. And so when you have a global pandemic like COVID-19, a lot of that enterprise shifts their attention to try to solve this issue. So you think about somebody like Zihai Lee, who's leading a massive immunology effort related to cancer, the Pelotonia Institute for Immuno-Oncology. Well, Zihai and his colleagues are experts in immunology, and they are lending their expertise and participating in lots of research and lots of activities related to that intersection of COVID-19 and cancer. The other thing that's happening is that so many other biomedical research resources are being shifted to address COVID-19, and rightfully so. And what that does is that means that funds from sources like Pelotonia become more important and more critical, and not just in 2020, but in 2021 and 2022 and beyond. So there's sort of the research enterprise and the expertise being directed towards it, and then there's the shifting of resources sort of away from things that don't directly impact COVID-19 that we have to address. And then lastly, as I mentioned earlier, there's the impact on people. And we all know people in our families and our neighborhoods who are dealing now with not only with cancer, but they're dealing with the reality of, can I go to the hospital for treatment? Can I have my checkups? How do I do that in an isolated state? And that's going to continue for some time. And so I think it's incumbent upon all of us to support those individuals as well as the research enterprise.
Great. Well said. So we look at today, we announced this new platform, and you mentioned June 2nd that we'll roll out a new website. So let's pivot a little bit and just talk about what's next and what's coming and how this is going to look. What registration looks like for someone who has not yet signed up with us, and those that have already registered. What does it mean for them on June 2nd?
Sure. So again, the team has worked really hard to get something prepared for June 2nd, and it will be a site. It's mobile optimized. It'll be easy to register just in a few clicks from a phone, an iPad, or your computer. And we're super excited about the ease and simplicity of that. There will be one sort of category this year, and it'll be called Legends. So whether you were a volunteer in the past, a rider, a virtual rider, or a donor, you can be a legend this year. And you will be able to go in and you'll be able to set your goal, both a fundraising goal, as well as up to 5 specific goals that you want to achieve. They could be physical in nature, they could be community involvement in nature, they could be volunteership. And we're really encouraging people to think creatively. We've had people decide that they're going to walk a certain number of miles. We've had people say they're going to run or ride. We've also had people say they're going to tackle something they've always wanted to tackle, and they're going to use it as an opportunity to hold themselves accountable and to raise money around that effort. So it'll be a real easy way for you to not only join, but also to join your Peloton and connect with other people. And then there'll be an interactivity to it. So there'll be leaderboards. There'll be leaderboards that aren't just focused on dollars, but leaderboards highlighting who is recruiting the most number of new members and who's engaging the most number of donors. And we think that'll provide an opportunity for people to share their journeys. We also want to make sure people can share what they're doing. So if I post that I'm riding to Cincinnati, others may want to join. Others may want to get on that trail. I've never done it, but I've heard that 90 miles of it is on a trail, shaded, which is awesome. But people might be inspired to say, gosh, I want to do that ride, or I want to do a run like that, or I want to do something with my kids in the community. So there's going to be the ability to really share in a way that maybe we haven't had in the past. And I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, and it's important to remember too for everyone, your Pelotonia, whatever you define it as, doesn't need to take place on ride weekend. We've given a couple examples of people who are doing things over longer spans of time. It can happen after what is our normal, Pelotonia weekend as well. We've extended the fundraising deadline to October 31st. So if you're going to do a marathon in the fall or another event in the fall, that's fine. You can still utilize as your platform to go out and garner donations. Let's talk a little bit about.
Let me add one thing, Eric, just real quickly, because I think the other thing that we've heard in the last 24, 48 hours from several of you is that there will still be activities. There will still be rides. Pelotons may choose to ride as a team. People may choose to sort of link up and do some things, whether it's during the weekend in August or previous or after. And that's great. And there may be a need for people to volunteer and help those groups. There's just continues to be so many unknowns in terms of how many people will be able to gather and participate in activities come August. We also are super excited that people can potentially gather to watch the live broadcast. So there could be community groups, viewings for Pelotons, and part of our plan for that broadcast is to have live feeds where we're checking in with the community and hearing their stories in a live manner during that show.
I'm glad you brought up, the opening ceremony broadcast. We're working diligently on that and hope to have some some more news in the coming weeks about where we land with that. But it's exciting to have those conversations, and we still want to gather everyone on our traditional weekend. So why don't we, Doug, we've got a few questions that have popped through the chat room here. Why don't we take some time to kind of work through some of those? I know that one that has popped up is a little bit about Pull and where we stand with the app. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Pull is, it's live today. There are no public funds available to earn currently. Several Pelotons are using it as a fundraising tool on their own, as a sort of closed group, and that's available to others as well. Pull is going through a little bit of an update still with some technical issues to make sure that it communicates not only to other tracking apps, but also from a fundraising perspective. So stay tuned for more on that. But we are excited that you can use Pull to receive donations. People can donate to you if you send your link around. And then obviously some of the Pelotons are using it for sort of their private reserves. I see a couple other questions I want to just hit real quickly, but one is, will money already raised be moved over? Yes, you will still have a profile. So if you've already registered and you've already raised money, that will all appear on your profile. You will have to, on June 2nd, go in and confirm your participation as a legend, and that'll be a real simple thing to do. But the same data that's already in your profile will exist post June 2nd. I see Katie asked a question about whether Pelotons can set a goal, and the answer is absolutely. We've already heard from several groups who are doing all kinds of things. One example is one Peloton has decided that they want 100% participation from their company. Because there's no registration fee and because there's no minimum fundraising, they want to really use this as a way to rally during a work from home scenario where people are sort of craving that engagement. And so we think there's easily an opportunity for Pelotons to set their own goals, whether they be fundraising or participation or mileage achieved or what have you. And we're happy to work with you on some examples of that.
Doug, Rob asked about high rollers and if that will still exist this year. Absolutely.
There will be a high roller category. Without telling you yet what the gifts might be associated with that, I can tell you I'm excited about them. In fact, my wife and I were talking last night, and I was encouraging her that she needs to send another email or two to get to that level, which she's confident that she'll be able to do. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, we want to. I think we want to be careful about one aspect, and I would just say that Pelotonia has been the recipient of tremendous generosity over 11 years. You know that because you receive a gift bag, and in that gift bag are any number of meals and items and things that are contributed. And I think we realize that a lot of those businesses who have contributed to us for so many years are now in need of our collective support. And we're working each and every day to figure out the best avenues for us as a community to support these businesses that have been so generous to us. And so more to come on that, whether it relates to the live broadcast in August and sort of how we engage people. But rest assured, there will be things developed from a product standpoint, whether they be jerseys, high roller gifts, et cetera. We're not straying from that.
We got a great question from Carl on here, and this is super intuitive to what we've been thinking about for the past 8 weeks or 9 weeks. But he asked, as we look towards 2021 in the future, does My Pelotonia still exist? So if you want to give a little background on where we went with this concept.
Yeah, so it was interesting. The idea behind My Pelotonia was actually maybe not named that, but was something that we had talked about many, many months ago. And I think the sort of COVID-19 pandemic really just expedited the development of many of the tools and the approach that you'll see on June 2nd and beyond. And so I don't envision this going away. This is not a one-time investment for 2020. We were fortunate that our team had been working on a concept similar to this previously that we had planned to launch in 2021. And in some ways, you could see My Pelotonia replacing the virtual rider of the past. So going forward and beyond this year, when we are able to have a mass participation ride, we can also have a My Pelotonia platform in concert with that. So they won't be mutually exclusive. And so that's one of the other reasons we're really excited to engage as many new people as possible during 2020.
Great. I think we've answered this, but Amanda, I just want to go back just really quickly. You had asked about, if someone has registered as a volunteer in the past, is there an option, for volunteers? Absolutely. As Doug mentioned, everyone will register this year as a legend. And again, you will define what Pelotonia means to you. And that could be that you're going to donate or volunteer time at a local food bank or another nonprofit, but you will register as a legend. There's absolutely still places for volunteerism here. The community impact piece that, as we left this somewhat open-ended and gave the creative liberty for everyone to define Pelotonia, that was key in our minds, that we had to have that component of it. So hopefully that answers your question, Amanda, about the volunteerism piece.
Eric, I would just add to that, we are looking at opportunities that may exist for Pelotonia to provide a little bit more direction and promotion of certain volunteer opportunities. We've actually talked to a lot of different groups about creating opportunities to provide products to patients who are receiving treatment and isolated and don't have family and friends with them. We've talked to several people at the state and in the governor's office about volunteer efforts that they're going to lead during what they're calling the recovery phase later this summer. And so there may be ways for us to actually encourage certain volunteer opportunities. I think so many of us are wanting to volunteer, but aren't sure how to go about it, aren't sure where to go or what we can do to be most helpful. So stay tuned for more on that.
Doug, Rich asked, will we be providing everyone with rules of the road, specifically around social distancing as we move into the summer months here? Obviously in Ohio right now, I feel like we're all going to float away with all the rain we're getting, but we're going to get our bikes out again here and ride. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think we've talked to our partners at Ohio State about this, and we've talked to others in the cycling community about this. And from my perspective, the things that you're doing ordinarily in terms of social distancing, in terms of wearing masks, I always err on the side of doing more of that and sort of protecting not only yourself but others that are around you. I know we had a question on there about what's the best mask to wear while cycling. I have not found the best option yet. I've had several people make recommendations, but maybe we can post a blog or do something where we sort of put some different examples of masks that are easy to breathe and sweat and don't provide any harm. But I think ultimately the one of the challenges that we had to go through in terms of the decision to not hold a mass ride was really that we don't know what the guidelines will look like in 2 months, much less in a week. And so those things may evolve, and we may learn more that allows people to ride in slightly larger groups or sort of participate in activities that maybe we aren't doing today. But I do know one thing about the Pelotonia community. They are extremely conscientious, extremely caring, and that's what a community is. It's a place where we take care of one another. And I think the best practices for that should be adhered to as things evolve.
All right, we had another great question pop in here from Ashley and gang. I'm trying to keep up with all the questions here. Keep them coming. We'll try and get to as many of them as we can. But this is a great one. For those who had signed up or this was going to be their first Pelotonia, the experience is a little different this year. What do you have to say to those first timers that'll be joining us in this new environment?
Yeah, I mean, it's in some ways unfortunate because I won't sugarcoat it. It's really hard to replace and create the energy that is created when you arrive at the opening ceremony for your first experience. We're going to try our best, and we're going to do a lot of things that will replicate so much of that journey. But I think my advice to anybody who's new would be to team up with somebody who's a veteran. And go for some rides and experience the community building, because the weekend has always been intended to be the celebration of the hard work, and the hard work is the fundraising, the training, and the goal setting that takes place in May and June and July, and that still exists. And I think that's one of the key pieces of My Pelotonia is as we come out of this time of isolation, can we each set a goal and really work to achieve it? And ultimately, we will celebrate in August and beyond. But August is a point in time, and the journey and the community building that exists throughout is what I would encourage new participants, new legends to really engage in.
So Monda asked us another question about volunteering. For those who are maybe out in the rural areas and want to volunteer in their region, what's the best way to get people connected? And I'll take this one, Doug, if you don't mind. Our amazing colleagues, Carolyn Appelons and Lauren Graham, are hard at work in putting together almost like a list of recommendations of different organizations that we can all partner with from a volunteerism perspective. So stay tuned on that. I know there's a lot of work being done there on the volunteer side. All right, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I'll just tackle one more and then I think we'll wrap up because I know so many people are busy today. Somebody asked about my ride to Cincinnati. So yes, I will. I would love to have people join. I don't know the exact date yet, but I've heard that it is 90 miles on a trail, shaded, and all downhill. So that should be wonderful. But I really would encourage people to think about something creative and also think about how you could join with others. Again, small groups and individuals coming together has always been part of what makes Pelotonia so successful. And I just want to, again, offer our sincerest gratitude. You've gone above and beyond forever. And we know that this year will be legendary. And the results and impact will be a direct result of the people watching this broadcast and the people that we will all go recruit and touch. And I can imagine celebrating in August and beyond saying we had more participation than ever before, and we made a huge impact on the cancer research enterprise. And I would just say, as I did in the video we released earlier today, there are people at the James, both on the patient and caregiver side and on the research side and physician side, that are counting on us. They always have, and we've always delivered. And I think even in these times of turbulence, we will deliver again because of you. And I can't tell you what that means to all of us. And we're so excited to be on this journey in 2020 with you.
Fantastic. Well, this has been great. It's an exciting day. We're excited to move forward with all of you. Thank you to everyone who's joined us today. And I'm sure there's going to be a myriad of questions that continue to come in, and please email us, call us. We're happy to help along the way. We're here for all of you. We want to make 2020 an amazing experience. And again, just reiterate that our team is super excited to start this journey with all of you. More to come in the next few days, and as we relaunch the website on June 2nd. But again, reach out with any questions, with any suggestions. And please start thinking about what Pelotonia will be for you in 2020. We're excited to hear it, and we're inspired by all of you.
Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.